it's not human, I ain't touched them.
I think it's selective murder or an indiscriminate one any day.
It's not actually established about these zombie eating habits. It depends on which zombie you are referring to. Some of these zombies eat only brains. Other zombies, will clearly not eat dogs. I mean, in the recent Dawn of the Dead, they used a dog to bring messages backwards and forwards across the street through an entire huge square full of zombies who didn't seem to notice the dog. So, I don't know what zombies eat.
Well, that's a good thing.
Are they equal opportunity chompers?
I mean, when you were a young man, George, did your mother say, finish what's put in front of you?
Yeah, they're starving zombies in Africa.
That's right. That's right down.
I like that.
Politically speaking, if the aristocrats are bloodsuckers, the people have no choice but to eat the rich. So it depends on the political climate.
I am so in love with that sport. I'm now barricading and edging over the table.
Well, I think it's that's live for this weekend. China Mule over in here. He'd be signing with us, I believe. I think he's on the side of the people. On the side of the aristocrats.
I'll come back to it in a minute, but, yep.
You need perfect cannon fodder!
Which one?
The zombies!
Oh, thank you. And next year?
Regarding dietary habits, zombies only seek brains because it leads to enlightenment. The more brains they have, the smarter they might get.
Mad cow disease.
Please let us know if you're not hearing the questions and like us to repeat them.
And also with regards to the zombies, one of the reasons women came out before daybreak, got to the point where the zombies know that the vampires had eaten too many humans and were going, look, local fauna. I need my plastics.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to say to that.
You're suggesting that as a weakness of vampires?
Yes, if they turn everybody into... But I mean, the same thing will happen to zombies. Sorry, just to repeat the observation for everyone. In daybreak, the zombies, the vampires are so used up with the resources of the community, there's actually no more humans left to blood. They're all going a little bit crazy and showing what few resources they have left. But I mean, ultimately, zombies, the vampire in that film, I thought, was a metaphor for rampant consumption, which is in fact in the past what the zombies had represented in some films. So, yeah, they were kind of a hybrid by then, and basically anything that all its resources and consumes everything without leaving anything for, suffer. It's going to screw itself.
But the zombies,
I think that's not nice for the lifestyle.
I don't think zombies always, in fact, I think it's rare that zombies to be shown as actually needing to eat humans or whatever to stay alive. They just do. But if they can't get it, I think I can only think of one movie or story or book that I've seen or read or heard about where zombies started to die because they ran out of places to find a human. Otherwise, they just can't keep on going around.
No, they fall apart. After a while.
No, they don't.
He's the expert, sorry. This is what Smackdown comes to.
Stop! Many on the side.
Before we take more questions, any more sort of observations from either side before we do the next round of questions?
Well, one thing I've noticed about zombie films, I mean, you notice that there's never a second act. They open and there are no zombies, or there's like one zombie that you see in the first act, or there's two zombies. Really, something that could be dealt with very easily. And then suddenly, they're fucking everywhere. There's hordes of them wandering around, and it's always like, go to this fort, and then you hear, oh, the fort's been overwhelmed, They always skip the middle part where 3 zombies become 30,000 zombies. And of course, the middle part, the reason they skip it is because there's no sensible way to get there, because actually, if there were 3 zombies, the police would come and shoot them all in the head, and then there would be no zombies. So they kind of gloss over that. There's never a second act. Just watch that in your zombie movie. They always skip that.
response from the zombie team?
Yes, well, this taps into that whole thing about, once your dear old mum suddenly jumps off her deathbed and starts shambling towards you, your first thought is not necessarily, I should shoot her in the head now. It's usually, Mummy! And the next thing you know, one zombie has become two zombies. And so on. I believe there is actually
You suggest that the characters in the zombie movies have never seen a zombie movie.
You know why zombies have become so many? It's because humans are stupid. And one of the things that you're arguing is basically that vampires are more attractive or preferable because they retain the most humanity. I find that flawed logic. I have a question for the zombie team. Now let's start with questions. the recent adaptation of trying to remember what it's called, short story, Last Man on Earth, I Am Legend. Recent film adaptation, which, despite the fact that technically, those are meant to be vampires, but would you consider them to be more zombie-esque?
I think everyone on this panel, and possibly everyone in the audience, would agree that that movie was just dreadful on quite a few levels. Yes, they should have been vampires. And they were made to look like zombies, I presume, because zombies were selling stuff at the time, and really they ended up looking like nothing.
Just a bad.
Yeah, no, that's not an argument for or against, I'm just saying.
That's actually an argument for or against science and nature.
Yeah.
And definitely we were in concert on that one. So back to the audience for questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about the walkway, and probably something that I've done as zombies. I've updated to a corpse has the texture of a boiled chicken. So what's the problem with being attacked by a horde of boiled chicken?
For those who couldn't hear, Terry spoke to a and said that after a couple of days, corpses actually have the texture of a boiled chicken. And Terry failed to see why you should be frightened of being attacked by a model boiled chicken.
But they're not going to texture you. They don't want to run against you. They're boiled chicken
Well, the zombification process, as you well know, interferes with the boiled chicken aspect of right.
Hold them off with a hose.
Because I'm betting none of those corpses you saw were bitten by zombies.
We're possibly operating within sufficient data to determine whether or not anybody in the walkway were in fact not dead but undead, and which way.
Or the zombie chicken.
I would say that.
Leave good kind out of it.
We always hear about those.
And they need brains more than the other chickens.
Just comparing vampires to the aristocracy, being very choosy, being very snobbish, would that sort of go into vampire inbreeding? And sort of,
They do. They call each other their children. They sleep with their children.
Yeah. So
You're in love with someone and you turn them and they become their child. That's not.
For those who didn't hear the question is that, I'm sorry, I've got questions.
Well, it's not very tired. It was comparing zombies to the aristocracy, then this is that research or electric inbreeding.
Quiz job.
I mean, basically, and I will have to admit, look at the colours. Nobody wants to go there. We want to go to embargo or call the colours off and not actually have part of this discussion. Nobody's happy with that.
That's another plus for zombies. I mean, I haven't heard people talking about these embarrassing zombie things.
You just wait.
About vampires, all trying to devour these sparkly ones, So obviously there's some banter vampire stuff going around that you're ashamed of. Oh, I see a waving hand.
Wait. You zombie people completely disassociate the original zombie. You never talk about the Haitian zombies, the voodoo zombies, who are the the grandfather, the origin of your entire species is completely just forgotten now. And I think it's racist.
Well, what I was going to say is vampires are, a couple of definitions actually, they're basically crusty old pedophiles. What's they would probably 150 years old and what, 16-year-olds? They do eventually sleep together.
No, really. It's not a hurt, but they all do.
And when our falls off,
Zombie apocalypse, right now. What's your question?
Zombies being embarrassed about Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Absolute travesty.
I love that.
But then the vampires.
And yet, as a bookseller, I sell so many copies of that, not only to zombie fans, but to Austin fans. Well, I know I didn't sell one to you, but...
Talking about the notion that Felicity said of vampires and pedophiles, have you read Let the Right One In? Because in the book, as opposed to the movie, what you basically end up with is a vampire child being with a sort of zombie-crazed ex-pedophile trying to rape a vampire child. So that's very good association. There isn't actually a zombie in Let the Right One In, I'd like to add.
He's not a vampire.
He comes back, he raises off the table, but he's not a vampire.
Yeah. Well, brilliant book, by the way. Having said that, I haven't read this yet, maybe I keep finding myself a very heavy in the middle. But I have read The Right One In, which I think is vastly superior in the film. And I have in my reading stash, Handling the Undead, which I'm as a writer, actually, what interests me about the zombie stories is not the zombie as a character, but how the people around their perhaps former loved ones, perhaps former loathed ones come back to haunt them, what their responses are. But I haven't got to reading the book yet. So whilst avoiding spoilers, have you read it, and what does that sort of contribute to your zombie theme?
I haven't read it because I've heard that it's very difficult for parents to read, so I'm going out of this one. I don't actually, I hope that's not a spoiler, but that's what I've been told about it. So it's obviously very powerful.
Yeah, I have read it, and I thought it was brilliant. I also enjoyed the Right One In, but it's, as Manuel, it is about really the reactions of the people around their revenants, so they don't come back and do anything particularly unpleasant at first. And more than that, I can't really say, because to say anything more would actually indicate a bit of a spoiler as to what the zombies turn out to be. But again, if we're talking about the effect on society and whether they're stronger than vampires or what have you, it is a kind of what I would call a slow apocalyptic book, in that certainly maybe not civilization, but society certainly crumbles. Because what do you do when every family member, every loved one who's been dead for the last couple of years comes back and are literally just a rotting shell? They don't talk, they don't interact, they're just vegetables. But vegetables you have to do something with. So even without being sort of driving stories forward by being characters in the strictest sense of the word, they still undermine society completely. I don't know if that actually answers your question.